Hey everyone, get ready because today we're going to tackle those money habits that might be secretly sabotaging your financial success.
Oh yeah, those sneaky little things.
Exactly. And we're diving deep into this awesome podcast called Broke No More 10 Habits Keeping You Poor. And let me tell you, they don't hold back. They
Yeah.
call out all those financial faux pas with a big dose of humor.
Well, sometimes you need a little bit of humor to make those tough financial realities a bit easier to swallow, right?
Totally. But beyond all the laughs, there are some seriously valuable lessons about how we can all improve our financial lives.
Sure. It's all about making those smart money moves.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into habit number one that they tackle. Stop buying things you don't need,
It sounds so simple, but
right? But they had this hilarious example of someone like religiously buying a $6 coffee every morning while wearing socks with holes in them. Have you ever been in a similar situation?
oh, I think we've all been there at some point. It's that classic trap of those small, frequent expenses. We tend to underestimate their impact, but
Yeah.
let me tell you, even cutting back on just one $6 coffee a day,
All right.
that could save you over $2,000 a year.
Wow, that's wild. Like, seriously, what could you do with an extra 2 grand?
Exactly. It really puts things in perspective.
For sure. And they also talk about those sneaky subscriptions that seem to pile up. Like, we've all got them. That gym membership you signed up for with the best intentions but never actually use, it's basically just throwing money away.
It really is. It's like this passive spending that can drain your bank account without you even realizing it. A good first step is to actually sit down and review your bank statements regularly. See those recurring subscriptions, those memberships you're not using. Think about canceling them. Just one or two could free up a surprising amount of cash each month.
Right. It's all about being mindful of where your money is going. Now, on to habit number two, living paycheck to paycheck. The podcast had this awesome analogy. They compared it to throwing a party for all your bills, like rent, utilities, credit card bills, all having a blast in your wallet while you're left scrambling.
It's a cycle that can be really tough to break free from.
Yeah.
No financial cushion. What happens when an unexpected car repair pops up? Or a medical bill? Could you handle it without going into debt? It's a precarious situation to be in.
Yeah, that's definitely a scary thought. And the podcast suggests building an emergency fund, like ideally 3 to 6 months of living expenses to handle those curveballs life throws at you and avoid falling deeper into debt.
Having that safety net can do wonders for your peace of mind. Even if you start small, like $50 or $100 a month, it
Yeah.
makes a difference over time. It's like paying your future self.
Love that. And speaking of debt, the third habit is ignoring it. The podcast was joking about pretending those bills don't exist, like while your credit score is secretly judging you.
We've all been tempted to bury our heads in the sand, right? But ignoring debt just makes the problem worse. Those interest charges, they keep piling up, making the amount you owe grow bigger and bigger. It's like trying to outrun a snowball rolling downhill. Eventually, it catches up with you.
So, what's the best way to tackle debt? Like, where do you even start?
A good first step is to lay it all out. List all your debts, the interest rates, the minimum payments. Then you can explore different strategies. There's the debt snowball method, where you focus on paying off the smallest debt first for that quick win. Or there's the debt avalanche method, where you prioritize the debt with the highest interest rate to save money in the long run.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like choosing your strategy. And it's important to remember that getting out of debt takes time and effort. But that feeling of financial freedom on the other side, totally worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, moving on to habit number four. Procrastinating on those important financial decisions, like saving for retirement. The podcast had this funny bit about people thinking, oh, I'll start tomorrow, and then tomorrow never comes.
Yeah, procrastination is a real challenge, especially when it comes to things that seem far off, like retirement.
Right. And the podcast really emphasizes the power of compound interest. It's essentially earning interest on your interest. And the earlier you start, the more it works its magic.
Exactly. Delaying saving, even by a few years, can have a huge impact on how much you accumulate for retirement. It's like missing out on years of potential growth.
So how can we beat this procrastination? It's so easy to push it off, especially when retirement seems so far away.
One powerful technique is visualization. Picture your future self. What kind of lifestyle do you see yourself living in retirement? How much money will you need to support that lifestyle? Having a clear vision can motivate you to take action today.
So it's like making those future goals feel real and tangible in the present.
Precisely. And remember, even small contributions to a retirement account can grow significantly over time, thanks to the power of compound interest.
Makes sense. So before we jump into more habits, let's take a quick pause and reflect. Which of these first four habits do you think might be holding you back from reaching your financial goals?
We encourage you to take a moment to really consider these habits and how they might be impacting your financial life. We'll be back in a moment to dive into the next set of habits that could be keeping you broke. All right, welcome back. Ready for more?
Yeah, let's keep going. What's the next money habit we're tackling?
Okay, so the next one is the idea that, you don't need a budget.
Yeah.
Like budgets are for other people, right?
Yeah, I used to think that too. Like budgets are just restrictive and boring.
Right. But the podcast we listened to, they had this funny analogy about it being like floating in space with no rescue ship. You're just kind of out there swiping your card, hoping for the best.
Okay, that's a pretty vivid image. And I guess it makes sense. Without a budget, you don't really have a plan for your money.
Exactly. But a budget, it doesn't have to be restrictive. It's actually about empowerment. It helps you see where your money's going, make conscious choices, and, align your spending with your values and goals.
So it's more like a roadmap, not a set of handcuffs.
Exactly. Think of it as a financial GPS guiding you towards where you want to be. And there are so many different budgeting methods out there. Like there's the 50-30-20 rule where you allocate 50% of your income to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt repayment. Or there's zero-based budgeting where you give every dollar a job.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one. It's like you're telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went.
Precisely. The key is finding what works for you, your own personal financial style.
All right, so that's budgeting. What's next on the list of bad money habits?
Okay, so number 6 is a big one. Lack of financial goals. They compared it to being a ship without a sail, just kind of drifting aimlessly.
Oof. Yeah, I can see that. Without a destination in mind, you're not really going anywhere.
Exactly. But when you set clear financial goals, you give yourself something to work towards. It helps you stay focused, motivated, and it's especially important to make those goals smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Oh, yeah, SMART goals. I've heard that before. It's like having that financial North Star guiding your decisions.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter what your goal is, whether it's saving for a down payment, paying off debt, or early retirement. Having that clear vision makes it so much easier to make those day-to-day financial decisions.
And I bet it feels amazing when you finally reach that goal you've been working towards.
Oh, absolutely. It's like this huge sense of accomplishment.
Okay, so we've got goals. What's the next bad habit we need to break?
All right, so this next one might hit a little close to home for some of us. Blaming others for our financial situation. The podcast had this funny bit about it being like blaming your dog for eating your homework. A classic excuse.
Yeah, we've all been there. It's so easy to point the finger at outside circumstances instead of taking responsibility.
Right. But the truth is, we have more control over our finances than we often realize. Instead of dwelling on things we can't change, we need to focus on what we can. Our spending habits, our savings goals, our financial education, that's where the real power lies.
It's like that saying, you can't control the wind, but you can adjust your sails.
Exactly. Taking ownership of our finances is the first step towards making real, lasting change.
Okay, so no more blaming the dog. Got it. What's next?
Next up is a habit that can be really tempting, especially in today's world. Chasing get-rich-quick schemes. The podcast had this hilarious analogy about buying magic beans and hoping they'll turn into a money tree.
Haha. Oh man, I think we've all fallen for some version of those magic beans at some point.
It's easy to get caught up in the hype, But the truth is there's no shortcut to wealth. It takes hard work, smart decisions, and a long-term perspective.
So no magic beans. Bummer.
Yeah, sorry to break it to you. Those get-rich-quick schemes, they often prey on our impatience, our desire for a quick fix. But a healthy dose of skepticism is key here. Do your research. Seek advice from trusted financial advisors. And remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Words to live by. Okay, so what's the next habit we need to ditch?
Okay, this one's really important. Avoiding investing in yourself. They made a funny comment about how, you can't expect to make money if you can't even spell invest. But on a serious note, investing in yourself is one of the most valuable things you can do.
For sure. Like, what are some examples of investing in yourself?
Well, it could be anything from pursuing further education or developing new skills to taking care of your physical and mental health, expanding your network, finding mentors, attending workshops, reading books. All of that falls under investing in yourself.
So it's really about recognizing your own value and treating yourself like an asset.
Exactly. And those investments, they might not have an immediate financial return, but they pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
They increase your earning potential, open up new opportunities. It's a long game.
Okay, that makes sense. And before we get to the final habit, let's pause for a moment. Out of all the habits we've talked about so far, which one resonated with you the most? Which one do you think might be holding you back?
Take a minute to think about it, and we'll be right back to discuss the last habit and wrap things up. All right, we're back and ready to wrap things up with that last money habit that could be holding you back.
You know, out of all the ones we've talked about, this one might seem the simplest, but
Oh, it can be deceivingly tricky.
totally. So what is it?
It's lack of consistency. Like we touched on before. Consistency is the key to really building lasting habits, especially when it comes to managing money.
Yeah, the podcast we're talking about, they had this hilarious bit about, trying to lose weight by dieting for a day and then crushing a whole pizza the next.
It's like you're not really fooling anyone, right?
Right. It's those consistent choices day after day that really make the difference.
Absolutely. It's easy to get discouraged when you don't see results instantly. But remember, financial progress. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's about those small, consistent actions repeated over time, like putting away a little bit of savings each week or sticking to your budget. That's what leads to big gains in the long run.
It's like that saying, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. And one super helpful tip for staying consistent: automate, automate, automate. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account each month. Schedule those bill payments to go out automatically. You can even automate your investments.
It's like having a personal finance robot working behind the scenes.
Precisely. It takes the decision-making out of the equation and keeps you on track even when life gets crazy busy.
I love that. So as we wrap up our deep dive into these 10 money habits, any final thoughts you want to leave our listeners with?
Even though these habits were presented in a lighthearted way in that podcast, their impact on your finances, it's serious stuff. But the good news is, by being aware of them, by taking action to change them, you can break free from those patterns that might be keeping you from reaching your financial goals.
It's like that shift from feeling overwhelmed to feeling empowered.
Exactly. And remember, financial awareness is a journey, not a destination. There's always more to learn.
So true. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Do your research. Find those resources that can help you along the way.
We're all in this together.
And as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with one question to think about. Which of these habits really resonated with you? And what's one tiny step you can take today to start breaking free from it? Remember, even the smallest change, when you do it consistently, can lead to huge results in your financial life. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.